Okay, so get this. We're going deep on this YouTube video, and
Oh, yeah.
it's called Living the Dream in Montana from this channel, Truth Shall Set You Free. And the thing is, this video is wild, like just all over the place.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's like self-promotion like crazy,
Yeah.
but also these rants and personal attacks,
Oh, totally, yeah.
it's intense.
Yeah, it's like you can't look away, you know?
Exactly, it's like a train wreck, kind
Yeah.
of.
Yeah, and you almost feel like you're watching someone just lose it.
Right.
But, like, also, there's this weird feeling like it's all for show, you know?
Like it's all an act.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it's weird because like he talks about how successful he is, as a contractor and how great his family life is in Montana.
Right, like idyllic.
But then he goes on these angry rants about people he's fighting with online.
Yeah.
It's like he's trying to say, look how great I am, but at the same time, it's like, is he really that secure?
Yeah, it's like projecting insecurities, you know?
Totally, totally.
Psychologists, actually, they call this online disinhibition.
Online disinhibition. Okay.
Yeah, like, because you're anonymous online, right?
Right.
You feel kind of detached from, like, what happens in the real world.
It's like there are no consequences.
Exactly. And so people do and say things online that they would, like, never even think about doing in person.
So it's like they're braver online.
Yeah, like it gives them this keyboard courage.
I like that, keyboard courage.
Yeah.
And he keeps saying these things like, these are facts and prove me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, what is he trying to do with that?
He's trying to, like, control the narrative,
Oh, I see.
like, dominate the conversation.
Like he's on the defensive.
Yeah, like he's trying to build a wall against anybody who might criticize him.
That's interesting. And it's not just what he says, but like there are these little details in the transcripts that are just weird.
Yeah, like what?
Like at one point he's ranting and ranting, and then he just stops to do a breathing exercise.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, isn't that strange?
It's, like, so revealing.
Like, why would you include that?
I know. It's like he's trying to act so tough and in control, right?
Yeah.
But then he needs to take a deep breath.
Like he's totally losing it.
Yeah, it's like he's way more invested in these online fights than he wants to let on.
Yeah, yeah. And there's this other part where he's talking about watching like Polar Express with his kids.
Uh-huh.
But he's also like in the middle of this heated argument online.
It's like, how can you even do both of those things at the same time?
Right. Like, shouldn't you be focused on your kids?
Yeah, it just shows how these digital interactions, like, blur the lines, you know?
Between like real life and online life.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, like, how much do these online conflicts affect his real relationships?
Right.
And, like, how can he be present with his family if he's always wrapped up in online drama?
It's sad, honestly. Like, he's missing out on these moments with his kids. And speaking of online stuff, did you notice how often he asks for money?
Oh, the Cash App thing?
Yeah, like every few minutes he's asking for donations.
Yeah, it's a bit much, right?
It's weird,
Yeah,
right?
it is a little weird, yeah.
It makes you wonder what's really going on, you know?
Yeah, well, these platforms like YouTube, they've become a place where people can basically panhandle online.
Panhandle, like beg for money.
Yeah, basically.
But he's making money from these crazy videos.
Yeah, and people can monetize the craziest content.
That's so messed up. So are we saying that this whole living the dream in Montana thing could be fake?
I mean, it's a possibility, right?
Like, is it just to get views and donations?
It's something to consider, yeah.
Wow, so this deep dive is getting really interesting.
Yeah, I know, right?
We're like peeling back the layers of this guy's online persona, trying to
Exactly.
figure out if he's genuine or if it's all an act.
Yeah, like, what's the real motivation here, you know?
It's a good question, yeah.
It is a good question.
It's like a puzzle with some missing pieces.
Yeah, and distorted images.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So is this guy just trying to get attention? Or is
Whoa.
he really just addicted to this online drama?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
I guess so.
And honestly, there might not be an easy answer,
True.
but, we can look at what he says and how he acts and try to understand, right?
Okay, so we're like digital detective.
Kind of, yeah.
Trying to solve this mystery.
Exactly. It's a good
Lots
announcement.
of fun. I like this deep dive.
Me too.
Okay, well, let's keep digging into this living the dream in Montana thing.
Sounds good.
We're just getting started.
Yeah, we're just getting warmed up. It's really something how much this guy wants to control everything in his video. Like, he's always saying, these are facts and prove me wrong.
Yeah, like he can't be wrong.
Right. It's like he won't even consider anyone else's point of view.
Yeah, and it's weird because he's always comparing his life in Montana to the people he's arguing with online.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a successful contractor, I've got a family, I work hard.
Yeah, like he's got it all figured out.
Right, but then he says all these nasty things about his critics.
Like they're losers or something.
Exactly. It's like he's trying to make himself look better by putting other people down.
That's pretty common online. People trying to make themselves look good by making others look bad.
I guess it makes sense.
It's like he's saying, I'm successful and you're not, so my opinion is more important.
Yeah, it's like a competition.
Exactly. And he's got to win.
But the thing is, he talks about being so successful and stable, but then he just explodes with all this anger and threats.
It's like he can't keep up the act for very long.
Yeah, like the mask slips.
Totally. And you wonder what it is about being online that makes people act this way.
Like, does it make you feel like you can say anything because you're not face to face?
Yeah, that's part of it, I think, the anonymity.
But there's something else too, right? It's like this pressure to show off.
That's a good point. There's definitely that pressure.
And we can't ignore the awesome stuff he says about women and gay people.
You're right. We have to talk about that.
He's constantly attacking people's families and using these horrible slurs.
It's really disturbing, and it goes beyond just being uninhibited online.
It's like he's actually hateful.
Yeah, it's straight up hate speech.
And it's scary how easily he threw around those words.
It is scary. It's like he doesn't even think about it.
And it makes you think about how the internet can be a breeding ground for this kind of stuff.
It's true, there's a dark side to the internet.
It can bring people together, but it can also give a platform to hate and prejudice.
And it's like the more offensive he is, the more attention he gets.
Which brings us back to the money.
Right, the constant Cash App requests.
Do you think he's doing this on purpose just to get views and donations?
I mean, it's possible. It's a pretty cynical way to make money.
But it seems like it works.
Yeah, unfortunately, controversy sells.
So as we move into the last part of this deep dive, I think it's really important for us to be careful about what we watch and believe online.
That's such a good point.
We can't just reward people who spread hate for profit. What was the most surprising thing to you about this video?
That's a good question. I think the most surprising thing was how much he talked about living this dream life. But then his behavior online was so different, so much darker.
Yeah, it's like he was living two different lives.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that what we see online isn't always the whole truth.
That's a good point to keep in mind as we finish up this deep dive.
Absolutely. It's important to be skeptical and think critically.
Okay, let's get into the final part of Living the Dream in Montana. Wow, it's crazy to think we spent so much time on this Living the Dream in Montana video.
I know, right?
But it's clear there's like a lot more to it than just some guy ranting.
Oh, definitely.
It's like it shows us all these weird and kind of dark things about how we act online.
Yeah, like how the internet can make us see things differently.
Right, like distort reality.
Totally. And this video is like a perfect example of what's happening online in general.
Like how we're always putting on a show for other people.
Exactly. And how we try to make money from anything, even if it's messed up.
Yeah, and this whole idea of performative authenticity that we see in the video.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
It's like people are always trying to show the perfect version of themselves online.
Right. Like the perfect family, the perfect job, the perfect everything.
Yeah, and they make it seem so easy to achieve.
But it's all fake. It's just an image.
And it puts so much pressure on everyone else to be perfect, too.
Exactly. And it makes us feel bad about ourselves when we don't measure up.
It's a vicious cycle, and it's so obvious in this video.
Totally. It's like he's going back and forth between being super angry and aggressive online.
And then showing these glimpses of his normal life, like with his family.
Yeah, like he's trying to be two different people at the same time.
It's like he wants the attention and validation from being outrageous online.
But he also wants to seem like a good husband and dad.
But it's also fake, and it's like, what is he really trying to do here?
It makes you wonder about the mental toll of living this double life online.
Right? Like, at what point does the online persona take over your real life?
Yeah, is it even possible to separate the two anymore?
And that brings us back to the big question, what's the real motivation behind this video?
Is he intentionally trying to build a brand around being controversial?
Or is he just addicted to the drama and the attention?
I don't know. It's hard to say for sure.
But by looking at the content and how he acts, we can start to understand what might be going on.
Yeah, it's like we're piecing together a puzzle with all these different clues.
This video is so bizarre, but it really makes you think about how we're all using the internet.
It's a reflection of our culture and how we're interacting with each other.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from this?
I think the most important thing is to be critical of what we see online.
Don't just believe everything you read or watch.
Do your own research, think for yourself, and don't be afraid to question things.
Because the internet can be a powerful tool, but it can also be used to manipulate and mislead.
Exactly. So be careful out there, folks.
And remember, the online world is a reflection of us. So let's make it a place where we can all be our best selves.
Well said. I think that's a great place to end our deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for joining me on this wild ride.
It was my pleasure.
Until next time, stay curious and stay critical.